Hello, and welcome to my thoughts while standing in the queue. The other day, I was standing in a queue at the hospital, waiting for them to take some blood, and I kept thinking, oh my God, I wish this would be over. I remembered Yogi Berra. He says, it ain't over till it's over, and he's absolutely right. For example, when my first husband left, I said to myself, thank God it's over. This marriage has ended. But the truth is, it wasn't over for years and years. Every time I would go past a clothing store window display, I would think, Tommy would have loved that tie. And when I am in the dairy department of a supermarket, I look at the display and I think, Tommy would love that cheddar. Maybe I should get it for him, and then I remember that I'm no longer living with him, thank God. That's right, it ain't over till it's over, and it wasn't over with that marriage until he finally had a heart attack, thank God, and died. Served him right. He'd been making my heart ache for years. And then there was the time that my Aunt Molly walked into the bathroom to use the toilet and saw our hamster. She was so terrified she came running out of the bathroom with her girdle at half-mast, and I burst into hysterical laughter. My mother was humiliated and furious. She looked at me and she said, show some respect for your elders. That is a disgusting thing for you to do. You should be ashamed of yourself. But my mother was a master of continuing to be offended, no matter how many years lapsed. And it was 20 years later, I walked into her kitchen, laughing at something that had happened outside in the driveway. And as soon as she saw me smile that way, she slammed her soup pot on the counter, and she waved her wooden spoon at me, and she said, that is exactly the same expression you had when you laughed at your poor Aunt Molly when she saw your hamster romping around in the bathroom. Yogi Berra was right. It wasn't over, even when I thought it was over. And then there was the time that little 5-year-old Susan came up to me and asked me to teach her to swim while we were at a lake just outside of Toledo. I don't know how to swim, but I decided to stand on the dock and show her all the moves that all the failed instructors had shown me and pretend that all that swimming and splashing and spitting that she was doing was really the breaststroke. She never knew, and I laughed at my private little joke that I had taught her something she thought was swimming and was really just sort of splashing around. Years later, my doorbell rang, and there was Susan in tears, telling me, they won't let me compete in the school swimming relay because they said my swimming teacher was so terrible. I said, well, that's a shame, darling. Maybe you should go tell your swimming teacher. Who was it? Her eyes filled with tears, and she looked at me and she said, don't you remember? It was you. And that was when I realized, Yogi Berra, right on. It ain't over, darling, ever, until it's over. And thank you so much for joining me in my thoughts while standing in the queue.